Study Section 3. Basic Terms of Phonetics and Phonology. Introduction. This study section will discuss some of the basic terms used in phonetics and phonology. Here you will come across such terms as phonemes, allophonic variants, allophones, contextual variants, phones, minimal pair, complementary distribution, etc. Their relevance to phonetics and phonology will be highlighted. Learning outcomes. When you study this section, you should be able to define and use correctly the term phoneme. Explain what it means when sounds are said to be allophones of the same phonemes. Explain the term phone. Form at least 5 minimal pair. Form at least 2 minimal sets. Phoneme. A phoneme is a distinct sound of a language. It is an abstract sound that is able to contrast the meaning of words in any human language. Changing a phoneme of a sound to another in similar context will result in a change of meaning. For instance, if the M of math is changed to K, the meaning of the word will change from a material used to cover a part of the floor to a small animal with 4 legs that people often keep as a pet. Cat. You can look for other English words that are similar and practice with them. Some examples are pin or fin, part or pet. It is very important to note that a phoneme can be realized as slightly different sounds depending on the context. This is the reason why it is considered a summary of many related phonetics sounds. Allophones. Phonemes, which we discussed earlier as distinct sounds of a language, have many variants, depending on the position in the word. We should quickly note at this point the sounds tend to be modified by the environment in which they occur. The environment of a sound is constituted by the sounds that are before or after it. Its position in the word or group, whether word initial, medial, or final. Whether it is next to silence, word boundary. All these are important influences on how a sound finally comes out when we speak. Remember, we learned earlier here that a phoneme is a summary of similar sounds found in different contexts. These variants are called allophones. Allophones are the phonetic variants of a phoneme. They are very similar sounds in a language that cannot change the meaning of words but add phonetic details to the word. The allophones of any phoneme are all alternative pronunciation for a phoneme, but the allophone selected in a given situation is often predictable. Let's look at the following example. PH, e.g. pain, aspirated. PN, e.g. happen, nasally released. PPL, apple, laterally released. PO, e.g. topcoat, unreleased. We can see here that where one of the variants occurs, the others will not. You will always find the aspirated P, PH as the first sound of a stressed syllable that starts with P. You will always find PN occurring before syllabic nasals, as in the case of happen, where the final sound is a syllabic nasal. However, please note that unlike with phonemes, where changing a one to another will change the meaning of a word, allophones only indicate proper pronunciation. They never change the meaning of words. Allophones are also called contextual variants of a phoneme. This means they are variants of the same phoneme that occurs in different contexts, environments. Therefore, in the example above, PH, PN, PL, and PO are allophones or contextual variants of P. Reflection. Imagine this situation. A nutritionist advises you, eat a fruit daily to enhance your health. Today you eat an orange. Tomorrow you eat a mango. The day after you eat a banana. The day after still you eat a walnut. Have you actually eaten a fruit? If I say no, I can argue you have only eaten an orange, a mango, a banana, and a walnut, and not anything properly named fruit. But common sense tells us the answer should be yes, because orange, mango, banana, and walnut are types of fruit. In that case, fruit is something, and yet nothing in particular, only a common name for several things in the same category. Likewise, a phoneme is a model, a standard. Allophones are the different ways of realizing or concretizing that model. Phoneme is abstract. Allophones are concrete and specific. Phones: PH, PN, PL, and PO. The allophones of the morpheme P, which we just discussed, are phones in their individual descriptions, though they are phones when considered individually. When you consider them in relation to their mother, sound P, they are called allophones of P. What are phones then? Phones are phonetics units of sounds with detailed production. Appropriate phones of a language can only be produced when you know the phonological rules of that language. After applying those phonological rules on the abstract phonemes, you will come up with appropriate phones. Let us look at the diagram in figure 3.1 together. Input phonemic underline, level of presentation PLN, phonemes P hyphen rules hyphen aspiration rule, output phonetics, surface, level of representation PH, N, phones. You can see that phonemes are input at the underlying level, which is abstract. It is only when you apply the phonological rules of a language, P rules, that you get the phones output at the phonetic surface, while of representation. Note again, the phonemes are terms abstract because they do not represent actual sounds, and one needs to know the phonological rules of a language to be able to pronounce them appropriately. For instance, as earlier demonstrated, P is a phoneme that can be realized in various ways phonetically. When it occurs as the first sound of a stressed syllable, it is aspirated, e.g., PH. When it is nasally released before a nasal sound, it is PN. When it is laterally released before a lateral sound, it is PL. How do you know when two or more phones are allophones of the same phoneme? A common test to this is by finding minimum pairs or minimum sets. When you are able to establish minimum pairs or sets, you are then able to conclude that such sounds are distinct sounds of that language. We shall be discussing minimum pairs and sets in the next section of this lecture. Minimum pairs. A minimum pair will be two similar words of a language that are only different in one segment in the same position. Please note that the position of two segments in the two words of the language must be the same to call them a minimum pair. Let's take a look at the following pairs: BLN, PIN, NIP, NIB, KIN, GIN, TIN, DIN, TIN, TEN. When minimal pairs occurs in a language, the phonemes that make the difference will automatically be regarded as distinct phonemes of that language. You can see that in the English language, P, B, K, T, D, G, E, and I are distinct phonemes. Minimum set. A minimum set is just like a minimum pair. In a minimum set, sound contrasts at the same environment minimally, and you can determine the phonemes of a language by looking for minimum sets just like you do with the minimum pair. The only difference between the two is that one is a pair, the other is a set. A pair we have just two words, while a set we have many words. Let's look at a minimum set. PIN, TIN, DIN, KIN, GIN. Complementary distribution. Sounds are said to be in complementary distribution when where one occurs, the other does not. This is a common characteristic of allophones of the same phoneme. Where one occurs, the other will never be found there. A nasally released P, PN, will never occur before a lateral sound, as aspirated, P, PH, will never occur at word's boundary finally, where you may find an unreleased P, PO. Context. In phonology, contexts are environments of sounds. The context of a sound could be other sound before or after it, or whether the sound occurs initially, as the first sound of a word, medially at the middle of the word, or finally at the end of the word. We should remember that in the previous lecture, we learned that words are often affected by other sounds in their environment. They tend to adjust or adapt to the characteristics of other sounds in the environment in which they occur. This adjustment or adaptation is responsible for phonetic variants of phonemes, such as affect our popular example, the P sound, which could be realized as PH, PH and PO, depending on context. Phoneme and phonetic transcription system. Transcription is the visual representation of speech sounds using particular symbols. Symbols are very specific and non-negotiable. A symbol in phonetics has a specific meaning and representation. If it is changed, it is no longer representing that sound which is supposed to represent. It is important to know this because in the course of your contact with phonetics and phonology, you will be reading and doing transcription. There are two types of transcription: phonemic transcription and phonetic transcription. The phonemic transcription is abstract transcription. You can infer that from the word phoneme, which by now you should be used to, while the phonetic transcription is detailed. You can also infer the meaning from phonetic as earlier learned. The most commonly used transcription system is the International Phonetic Alphabet, IPA, which we shall discuss after this section. Now, let us return to our discussion of the types of transcription we have. Phonemic and phonetic transcription. Transcription may be broad or narrow. When it is broad, it means it is not detailed. It does not include the phonetic details. It contains only phonemes. Do not forget that phonemes are abstract sounds. A broad transcription will disregard the application of rules. The broad transcription is the phonemic transcription. On the other hand, a narrow transcription is detailed. It contains phones. Do not forget that phones are actual sounds. A phonetic transcription will regard the application of rules. A phonemic transcription of apple will be short APL transcribed, while the phonetic transcription will be short APL. The added superscript symbols stand for laterally released. Let's look at more examples. P short IN transcribed. Phonemic transcription. No rule is applied and phonetic details are disregarded. PH short IN. Phonemic transcription. Aspiration rule and nasalization rules are applied as phonetic details. As you must have observed above, slanting lines enclose phonemes or phonemically transcribed sounds, while square brackets enclose phones or phonetically transcribed sounds. Note: phonemic transcription uses phonemic symbols, while phonetic transcription uses phones, phonetic symbols. International Phonetic Alphabet. The transcription of speech is done with the International Phonetic Alphabet, based on the Latin alphabet. It is used to describe sounds and features of speech, such as consonants, vowels, and suprasegmental features. The symbols are fixed and they refer to specific sounds as described using phonetic studies. All known world languages have their phonemes as well as features assigned their own corresponding symbol. As the most widely known system of phonetic transcription, the International Phonetic Alphabet (IPA) is standardized to enable the users to transcribe the phones of different languages, dialects, and idiolects accurately and consistently. It is a useful tool not only for the study of phonetics, phonology, language teaching, professional acting, and speech pathology. Received pronunciation, RP. We all know that the way people speak the same language differs for many reasons. Educated speech will be different from uneducated. Youth use language differently from adults, etc. So is the case with the topic on hand. Received pronunciation. Received pronunciation is a pronunciation of British English that is originally based on the speech of the upper class of Southeastern language, though more widespread in London and in the southeast of England. It does not belong to a particular geographical area. It has been identified as a language of the very educated, and it is the language mainly used by the mass media in prestige broadcasting. So it is also called BBC pronunciation, though its use in broadcasting in recent times is dwindling. It is characteristics of the English spoken at the public schools and at Oxford and Cambridge universities. It is a target for pronunciation in most contexts where English is used as a second language. That is why it is a target for the teaching and learning of pronunciation in Nigeria. We must not forget that English is a second language in Nigeria. Study section summary. In this study section, we discussed the basic terminologies employed in phonetics and phonology. We dealt with terms such as phoneme, allophones, phones, minimal pairs, minimal sets, complementary distribution, context, phonemic and phonetics transcription, International Phonetic Alphabet, and received pronunciation. End of study section 3. Thanks for listening.